Hi everyone, thanks for being with us today. We're here to talk to you about keeping our neighbors housed in an innovative partnership Jessie Tree and the North End Neighborhood Association created last year that we want to share with you. You may have seen this in the news, and we partnered with the Neighborhood Association essentially to prevent evictions for our neighbors. My name is Ali Rabi. I'm the executive director at Jessie Tree. I'm a Boise native, born and raised here, and have worked in homelessness and housing my whole legal career, and really believe in prevention and keeping homelessness and eviction from happening to our community.
Hi, I'm Mark Baltus, and I'm from the North End Neighborhood Association. I'm a longtime Boise resident. I grew up on the bench and attended Boise State University. I've served on the NENA board since moving back to the North End in the 1990s, and I'm currently serving as NENA's president. Today in our presentation, we want to introduce you to our organizations, Jessie Tree and the North End Neighborhood Association, who we are and what we do, talk a little bit about the local housing crisis and how Jessie Tree and NENA's partnership is helping to address those needs, the results of that partnership, and finally how you can help.
Awesome. So just first a little bit about Jessie Tree. If you haven't heard of our nonprofit, we have been around for 20 years providing support, information, and rental assistance to low-income renters in the Treasure Valley who are on the brink of eviction and homelessness. We operate 4 main programs: our housing crisis line, which is how all of our other programs are accessed; our emergency rental assistance program, where we provide case management and financial assistance to tenants when they are falling behind in their rent. We support tenants through the eviction court process. We also have a badge program, which provides educational opportunities for tenants, landlords, and case managers, including on healthy communication and budgeting, as well as tenant and landlord rights. We do believe in investing in prevention. We're very passionate advocates about our mission. Housing is everything to a family. We don't believe that we should allow eviction and homelessness to happen to our neighbors. Prevention is also very cost effective compared to the high costs of allowing a family to fall into homelessness and trying to respond to that. We can keep a family in their home for only $1,000 on average. And it's successful as well. Over 97% of the households we've assisted over the past few years remain housed.
The North End Neighborhood Association, more commonly known as NENA, is the city's oldest established neighborhood association. It was started in 1976 by people in our neighborhood that were just as concerned about housing issues. Our borders extend from Hill Road to State Street and from 28th Street to 4th Street. And everybody who lives within those borders are automatically NENA members. So those are renters, those are business owners, those are property owners. Everybody is automatically a member, and we represent their interests. NENA is also known for putting on the annual Hyde Park Street Fair, which we have done for the last 40 years. The proceeds from the nonprofit event are reinvested into the neighborhood through programs and projects. One of which that we're most proud of is our grants program, and I always refer to that as our 3-legged stool. We give grants to our 5 local schools. We give grants to people and organizations that come forward requesting some startup money through our FIND grant, which is for improving the North End. It's an acronym. And then the third one is some dedicated funds that we put towards our Jessie Tree with the intent to address eviction prevention within the North End.
So before we talk about the partnership that we've created between Jessie Tree and NENA, we just wanted to talk a bit about our local housing crisis to frame up this problem for you. As you know, the cost of housing has continued to increase around the Treasure Valley year to year, while other essential expenses such as healthcare, childcare, and education have also continued to increase, and wages aren't keeping up. So as a result, more and more of our neighbors are struggling to make ends meet each month. We know a majority of people in the Treasure Valley are literally living paycheck to paycheck and can't come up with $400 in emergency. And that's simply because of the gap between income and basic essential expenses such as housing. So alongside the increased cost of housing, we've also seen the number of people requesting rental assistance increase during the pandemic. Requests for rental assistance increased for Jessie Tree by 300%, and a majority of people requesting rental assistance are doing so because of job loss, an issue related to income, and they simply can't afford their rent, while the rest have experienced some other unanticipated expense or shortfall, like a healthcare bill, traffic ticket, or a roommate moving out, things like that. So alongside increased cost of housing, while that gap continues to widen, we've also seen the number of evictions and people experiencing homelessness around the city of Boise increase. This year, there were quite a few evictions while people went without work and were unable to pay the rent. The majority of evictions that we see in court are happening because people are temporarily unable to pay their rent. We've also seen the number of people experiencing homelessness increase in Ada County. These are numbers from Ada County Homeless Management Information System. We saw over 2,000 people become homeless for the very first time in their lives in 2019 alone. And that's a large majority of the total homeless population. So those are people this is happening to for the very first time. As I mentioned, the number of evictions is also increasing, around 1,000 eviction filings last year alone. So this is definitely a big problem, and Jessie Tree is one of the only nonprofits that focuses on preventing eviction and homelessness from happening to people before it occurs. And so we are just really trying to rally the community around our mission, and for this reason decided to present information about renters who are requesting rental assistance to neighborhood associations. So as I mentioned, we operate a housing crisis line where we collect information on renters who are asking for rental assistance and run their answers through some data processing, so we can really see what's going on in the community. We collect everybody's addresses and then put that onto a map and superimpose that onto a map of all of the neighborhood associations in the city of Boise, so we could see where people are coming from around the city. We then put this into a spreadsheet and did a presentation circuit to different neighborhood associations around the city of Boise, showing them how many people in their community living right around the corner from them were needing rental assistance. And unfortunately, because call volume is so high and so many people request rental assistance, we're not able to help everyone. So a lot of these people are kind of sitting around on a waiting list. So we did a call to action to neighborhood associations, including Nina, and presented to Nina this map showing where people in their neighborhood were needing rental assistance. And then we presented some data on those residents requesting assistance, including the number of people. So it's 10 people in the north end had called Jessie Tree. Quite a few of them were just living right on the border of Nina, across the street from Nina. Many of them were employed, or had also experienced some unanticipated expense like medical issues. And then many of them had also received a 3-day notice, so the situation was quite urgent. So we presented this to the Union Board. They considered the information as well as some other data and statistics they have on Nina residents in making their decision.
Yeah, so when Jessie Tree approached our board at one of our monthly meetings, this was our first introduction to this organization. We really didn't know that it existed, and we were compelled by the information that was presented, especially the number of people within our own neighborhood that were already receiving assistance from Jessie Tree, and how vulnerable most people are, that they're just like $400 away from having, to being rent challenged. or face eviction. So the NINA board responded very favorably to that information. We are acutely aware of the exorbitant housing values within the North End, but at the same time, the North End has significantly lower income, median income, than the city as a whole. And that, surprisingly, 44% of all the households within the North End are rent occupied, and 25% of all households within the North End consider themselves housing burden. So with those two impacts and the information that was presented, we just thought that we could make, that NINA could do something effective to benefit our neighbors. And again, what really stuck out to us was Jessie Tree's approach in the willingness to build a partnership that was specific to our neighborhood, and that they weren't there just asking for a check. So those things, together really cemented what we thought was a good partnership going forward. So that being said, we established that placeholder in our grant fund program, and we put in $5,000 just to kickstart the program going forward.
And this is the memorandum of understanding that we came up between our two organizations. Mark and I sat down, got some coffee, kind of defined the parameters and details for how this would all work, including the criteria for who would receive assistance. So we did specify in our contract that people receiving rental assistance would live and rent within the North End neighborhood limits, that they would be lower income, under 80% AMI or median income, and that they would be at risk of eviction and homelessness, so we're not just paying rent for everyone who asks for it. We also determined that they would need to become self-sufficient within 30 days, and they need to be willing to engage with Jessie Tree staff. Landlords do as well. And we put that all into writing and signed a contract, and here we are today. I do also just want to describe our internal process when determining who gets the NINA rental assistance funding. So as I mentioned, Jessie Tree operates a housing crisis line where we collect information and provide support information to renters who are requesting rental assistance. We ask for people's addresses, and our housing crisis line staff flag whenever a resident is living within the North End Neighborhood Association. Our program manager then reviews that on a daily basis and slates individuals living within the North End neighborhood for case management appointments with our case managers. Our case managers then reach out to the resident, assess their situation, and they provide them with support, including connections to employment or benefits if they need to increase their income, can provide them to connections to other community resources if they need help for their children, or if they need help with mental health resources, things like that. And then we ensure that the tenant has a plan going forward for sustainability and financial independence, because we don't want to just pay their rent and then see them come back and get evicted next month. Our staff also work really closely with the landlord throughout the process, and we determine how much rent needs to be paid in order to keep the tenant in their home, and the tenant may be able to chip in to some of what is owed as well. We cut a check to the landlord and either hand deliver it to the landlord or send it to them in the mail. And then at the end of each month, we reimburse to some of our grants, including the NINA board. So we collect all the information on the NINA residents that we support and send that, the amount as well as the story of the client living within NINA borders to NINA and the treasurer, and they cut us a check to reimburse us for the rental assistance that was paid. So it is this really nice partnership that is a reimbursement program and allows the NINA board to help their residents directly, while we also get to support tenants during the crisis. And Mark's team has been doing a lot of work on this partnership as well, so I'll let him talk about that next.
Okay, all right, thank you. So yes, to hold up our side of that working relationship, in addition to setting aside money for reimbursement, what we call the Nina Cares program is our eviction prevention partnership. And so through that, we've supported that with our newsletter. We run updates and direct people to our resource page on our website that has Jessie Tree and other charities on it. We put distributed flyers through events at Hyde Park Street Fair to do some, again, reinforcement of the partnership and direct people to those resources. In December of 2019, we put on the holiday house tour, and over a one-day event, we were able to raise $3,500 that was specifically dedicated to contribute to our Jessie Tree account. In addition to that, post-COVID, everything in the world changed, as we know. We weren't able to do in-face events any longer, at least for the short term. But we did an appeal through our newsletter. We put an ad out letting people know what it was we were doing, that we, as Nina had, in light of the fact that we lost our income for the year not having street fair, put in $20,000 of our own reserves towards 6 local charities, one of which, of course, is Jessie Tree. We supported all that information in our newsletter. We put a leaf drop out with to our 5,500 households. It was a 2-page flyer, which was kind of unique. On one side, it was, can you help, to try to raise funds from people in the neighborhood who are willing to make a donation. And on the other side, it was an appeal, if you know somebody or are in need of assistance, we could direct them to the resources in the community like Jessie Tree, where they could call and get help. So we were, proud of that outreach. As a result of our outreach, the newsletter, the leaf drop, website, we were able to raise over $10,000 of additional money that just came from neighbors in the North End.
Yes, and all of those efforts were super appreciated by Jessie Tree because it allowed us to continue to reimburse for rental assistance for NENA residents, as well as just alert NENA residents needing help that we're here as a resource and encouraging them to contact us and reach out for help. A lot of people still don't know about us, and so that was really helpful. We have had some really exciting results from this partnership. So since last year, when it was implemented, we have supported 12 households with rental assistance in the North End Neighborhood Association with around $12,000 in rental assistance. NENA also provided Jessie Tree, as Mark mentioned, with $5,000 to assist other Treasure Valley households with rental assistance, which was also incredibly helpful since so many people need this resource right now. So next, we just want to talk about how you can help as a member of a neighborhood association or a whoever else you're here with. As I mentioned, Jessie Tree did provide opportunities for partnership with all the other neighborhood association in the city of Boise when we made this presentation and call to action. We did implement a plan for partnership with 2 other neighborhood associations, including SENA, the Southeast Neighborhood Association, as well as the Collister neighborhood, to raise money to pool funding for rental assistance for people within those neighborhoods. We recognize that not many other neighborhoods have funding available like the North End with their very successful Hyde Park Street Fair that they've had established for so long. But there are other ways to raise money, and we just really brainstormed with other neighborhood associations, found some allies and people that were wanting to help. So our plans were to hold a beer and brats event with the Collister Neighborhood Association in the backyard of a member of that a neighborhood association, and we were going to just discuss the housing crisis with some beer and brats, which would have been really fun. The Southeast Neighborhood Association was partnering with the Boise Fry Company for a give back night, which would also create a pool of rental assistance funding. And unfortunately, obviously, we did have to cancel those events this year, but we are pivoting a lot of events towards virtual over the next year or in person, and we're open to ideas. So if you're a member of a neighborhood association interested in doing something like this, definitely let us know.
So here's my rallying cry. I think this is what I think we all can do. And whereas we understand that most neighborhood associations do not have the benefit of a revenue stream like Nina does. And we take that responsibility seriously, which is why we invest in our neighborhood and the greater community. But I think what's really required here as a neighborhood association is imagination and creativity and the genuine desire to assist those within our neighborhood that it may be just, like I said, one small emergency away from housing insecurity. So I hope that others will follow the example that Nina set, that Sina and Collister have also rallied behind in working with Jessie Tree, and do something, to raise some money for this benefit. There are things we can do, like arrange a fundraiser, as Ali said, organize a garden or home tour like the North End does. One thing that we're proud of as part of our COVID project was to reimagine the Neighborhood Watch program with Boise City Police. And this is less about watching out for crime or suspicious behavior, and more about just reaching out to your neighbor, exchanging contact information, and that understanding of neighbor to neighbor, I think, will go a long way to help this effort. And lastly, maybe just set up a GoFundMe account and support it through your newsletter, your website, and the Neighborhood Watch program if you set something up. But more in all, I just think there are creative things that don't involve a huge amount of startup capital, but just involve some dedication and passion of people willing to help their neighbors. So I just hope that everybody will join with us so we can work together to keep our neighbors housed. Thank you.
And with that, we will open it up to any questions that you all have for us.